Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Skye Sweetnam from the band Sumo CYCO, and you're watching Loud TV.
Hello! Today I'm with Skye from the band Sumo CYCO. Welcome!
Hi, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. I like the
Yeah.
background. It's all the album cover. I love it.
Yeah, it's great artwork. Maybe we can have a chat on it maybe in few minutes. Sumo CYCO from Hamilton, Canada. And yeah, this is your third album and the first one on the most, I would say, the most feminist record label, Napalm Records.
And yeah, very, very cool label to be a part of. Lots of awesome bands. We had the pleasure of touring with Ginger, for instance, back when touring was allowed in 2019. And so had the pleasure of touring with them, which was an awesome experience. So there's a lot of cool, hopefully, fingers crossed, opportunities in the future to tour with more of the Napalm bands. Well, actually, Napalm's had our eye on us for a little while. Since back in 2017 was the first time that we met one of their representatives. And then when we did the Ginger tour, yes, the Napalm crew was out, coming to a couple of the shows, and we're able to see our live show, which was awesome. So it kind of all worked out, and they saw how well we, kind of won over the crowd, which is not easy to do when you're opening up for a band like Ginger. So I think after that, they decided that it would be a good fit for us to work together.
So what about your style? It's very fresh, very crossover style, electro, groovy, dance, some kind of raga also.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you're a good fan of Skindred.
Yeah.
And you sang with Benji on your previous album.
Yes, we love Skindred. They're one of the most influential bands in getting us to even form, to become a project. I really loved the fact that Benji brings so much fun to the genre, and I love being able to dance to heavy music. It's one of my favorite things. So I wanted to start a project that could show that we could bring the fun and the color back to a very heavy genre that typically has a lot of, black and dark lyrics. And I just wanted to bring in the brightness and kind of switch things up a little bit, add in some calypso beats in there, some reggae, a little rap, a little this and that. And that's our signature style, is kind of mashing everything together.
Would you say that maybe in metal, it's sometimes too serious, when it's full metal, and maybe it's a dead end, maybe,
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's, different people like different styles, but I feel like heavy music needs to come back to mainstream culture and be on the main radio waves and to be the headliners of the main festivals. And so for me, I enjoy commercial music, but I also see why heavy music is so appealing to people. It just brings so many more elements. To me, there's a lot less structure in a pop song structure. When you're in a metal world, you can do a little bit more different kind of longer songs, or change it up and have different jam parts and breakdowns and all that kind of thing. So I kind of want to bring those cool elements that I don't think mainstream people know about into the mainstream culture. That's what I hope Sumo CYCO can do, and get more young people into rock music. Yeah, well, the founders of the band are myself and Matt Drake, the guitarist, and he and I write all the songs, and he's a producer. We have our own home studio, so he produces a lot of the music, and every time that we send a song to the other two guys, to Trozy and Oscar, they're usually pretty surprised at the technicality that they're going to have to learn and the different styles. And they're very receptive to the fact that we always want to push each other to do more extremes, and I find that's the same case with Matt and I, is we're always pushing each other to write better songs, to become better at what we do. And we're not always in agreement, but that's, I think, what makes it the best, is we're always, finding where that middle ground is. And when we both really love something, then we know it's really good.
Yeah. So Matt wrote most of the music. Have heard that you bought a piano recently.
Yeah, so for Christmas, Matt bought me a antique stand-up piano, and I haven't played for years, like since I was in my teens. But I had a few hours around Christmas time in quarantine where I was kind of fooling around on the piano, and decided to learn one of our own songs. And ever since then, I've just been playing along, and I did you can find it on our YouTube with me playing our song No Surrender, kind of a piano version. So a bit of a different version than what the main rock version is, but I think it kind of breaks down the song and shows that at the end of the day, we really care about those melodies and lyrics, and it doesn't need to have like a million things going on to still be a good song, even though I like a million things going on.
you recorded with Kane Choco. So how did you work with him in studio?
Kane is awesome, super talented, works so fast, just mixing while he's editing, while he's recording me. It's insane how fast he can work. But we had the pleasure of going down to Las Vegas, where Kane and his father have a beautiful recording studio called Hideout Recording Studios. And we met Kane, and immediately we had a bit of a connection because his dad is from Canada, and he's half Canadian, and so he's been up to Saskatchewan where they live, and it was kind of cool to like hear the stories. And long time ago, Kevin, his dad, actually worked on one of my songs when I was singing pop music. So there's a weird connection there. We felt really at home, and we just got right into the studio, and we had 2 weeks to get 2 songs done, and we learned a lot from Kane. Matt also, as a producer, took a lot of tips from Kane as far as like what he needed to do to bring the rest of the album kind of to feel like it was at the level of the other 2 songs we had written with Kane. And I think it really pushed Matt as a producer to keep honing in on his craft, seeing someone like Kane do so well and have such a cool process and work so fast and efficiently. And it was quite inspiring to be around. So, and of course, it's a lot of fun in Vegas. Can't say that we didn't have a great time because we were partying in Vegas too. So it was good. So Kane, I feel, leans a little bit more on his sounds like a little industrial, which is kind of a sound that we've never really explored as a band. And you can hear in the way that he really has a fine line of taking those pop elements and then just like really kind of pushing them, almost like he's pushing them like to their extremes to kind of create that distortion and creating those like vocal effects, like in our song Vertigo. It has that like but vertigo, and like typically you could sing that like a very pop thing, but he puts like that distortion on it and like pushes it to the max so that it has that more aggressive kind of vibe. And so he's really good at that. And I think we were on the same page about us both really loving those pop hooks kind of disguised by all that kind of harder edge sounds. So we really liked that about him and thought that it would be a good fit for us.
Yeah, and you're right. There are a lot of electronic elements, which is very modern and very dynamic sound.
Thanks. Yeah, so the way that we work as a team is Matt will usually come up with some sort of riff or like a bass / drum hook or something, and then I'll write all the lyrics and melody, and I'll come back to Matt and I'll say, okay, this is what I like, but I think you should repeat this part musically like 3 or 4 times. And he'll say, I really like that lyric, but that one sucks, take that out. And we'll just kind of go back and forth, and sometimes we really don't agree. And what's so crazy is is it actually helps the process, because the more that he kind of says, that's not good enough, it really pushes me to try to find the perfect mix of something that I love and that I think he'll really like. And he does the same for me. So I'll tell him like, that track's I'm not really feeling it. And then he'll just keep pushing himself to try to make it so that I like it. So it's just, we kind of like go at each other like this until it like finally becomes one. And it's like, yeah, we did it. We came up with something we both like. I think anything that you really want to be amazing, you always have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So to me, it's really easy to write songs. I could probably write like tons of songs in one day if I wanted to. But to write something that you feel like challenges the boundaries and has a good mix of the pop elements that's super strong and hooky, but also can kind of like blow your mind when it comes to the breakdowns and riffs, that's where it takes the hard work. So, but we're always up for the challenge. Yeah, so one of the reasons I started Sumo CYCO was because I felt a bit limited by the types of experimenting I could do with my voice in pop music. So being able to scream, being able to growl, being able to like go really high and then go really low and do all those dynamic things that make a Sumo CYCO song, feel like it's kind of got that weird vibe, rapping really fast. And I wanted to see how far I could take my voice in all these different directions, and experiment. And I felt like metal and hard rock was the place I wanted to be able to experiment with my voice. Our live show is one of our favorite things. We love to interact with the crowd, and we love to just let it all lay on stage. We're big into showmanship. Showmanship is the number one thing we think about when we're playing live, is how do we put on a show. And even when there's no lighting, when there's not a big crowd, when you only have 4 people on stage and 4 instruments, how do you make a show where no one can take your eyes off the stage? And that's what we try to do every single time. And so, yes, it's about the music and being really proficient and knowing your instrument inside and out. So it's like automatic. You don't even have to think about it. But for me, it's all those special moments that make a good live performance, where, you get in there into the crowd with the microphone and everyone's singing along, or I'm jumping on my guitar player's shoulders, or we're crowd surfing through the crowd. All those big moments to me make a show amazing. And I always say everyone wants to have a good time. It's just about inviting people out of their shells. And if you've ever been to a metal or rock show, you'll always find those guys in the back with their arms crossed, just kind of like, kind of judging you like this. And my mission is always to like, how do I get that guy to start doing this? Like, how do I take it from this to like, yeah, and that's my mission every single night,
What about your, the concept album? It's a fiction that you have written. It's like a psycho city, right?
Yeah, you got it.
So let us know what about your fiction, your world. I think it's made of cartoons or stuff like this.
So Psycho City is an alternate universe where anything goes, and it all takes place within our music videos and our artwork. So anyone who's followed us for a while will start seeing the same characters come into our music videos. We have a mascot, which is a big skull head guy, and he has spirals in his eyes, and we call them the Terranauts. They're like astronauts, but they bring the terror, and they're an intergalactic mafia that took over Psycho City, and they're always the kind of like, I guess, the underdogs, or you think they're the bad guys in the story. And so we have a lot of fun with it. It's like an Alice in Wonderland, going through different parts of our imagination and just letting people into that world. We have a lot of fun with it. And all of our albums have kind of a theme. So the first one was about introducing people to Psycho City. The second one was about the train that runs through Psycho City. And the third one is about these 4 different factions or gangs that kind of run Psycho City. And if you go to our website at sumocyco.com, you can take a quiz and it'll tell you which of the 4 groups that you would belong to depending on your answers. So it's kind of a fun thing we play with our fans, and I think they really enjoy it. So it's been a fun kind of side project that goes along with our music.
Yeah. Are you a fan of all this type of superhero Marvel style or stuff like this?
Well, my all-time favorite comic book character is Tank Girl. And I don't know if you're familiar with that comic book, but the same artist who does the gorillas, original gorillas, like Jamie Hewlett, he developed Tank Girl, and they made a movie out of it starring Lori Petty. And I remember the moment I saw that got introduced to the Tank Girl world, it changed my entire life. I just wanted to be her and be a badass. And I went so far that I didn't have a tank to drive, but my family works in the gravel industry. And in one of my early music videos, I started driving a bulldozer, and I kind of pimped it out with speakers and different colors on it and drove it around in a music video because it reminded me of Tank Girl. And so yeah, I do like comic universes. I'm not like a buff when it comes to like more of the classic comic books like the Marvel side, but I do enjoy the ideas and the magic and the fantasy, and I've always been a girl with a big imagination. So yeah, I love that stuff.
And what about your the lyrics that you wrote during the COVID days? And did you find any inspiration in it?
Yeah, it's true. It's so sad what's happened, and I mean, for all the music community too. Just the fact that so many people are still out of jobs, haven't been able to tour, venues closing down all over the place. So, if anyone listening wants to kind of look to their local venues and just check on them, like see if there's some merch you can buy or crowdfunding to help them out, because it's really important if we want our scene to come back that those venues are still there for us to play. But as far as what I kind of did while in the quarantine is, I was frustrated like everybody, and I had such big plans for 2020, and when everything kind of stopped so suddenly, of course, we're kind of left wondering, this industry is already hard enough to survive in, and now you just take away the one thing we have, which is each other and our live shows. So it was a big blow, and I felt that personally, and I was also so affected by world events, and I felt so helpless because so many things were going on in the news, and it was just like dumpster fire after dumpster fire. And I'm just going, oh my God, what world am I living in now? It seems like we're in a comic book because things are so surreal. Like it's a story that you would hear about in a movie. This doesn't happen in real life. And so I wrote a few songs about it. That's for sure. That's how I had to channel my energy since there was not much else I could do. So songs on the record like Bystander, Bad News, Cyclone, those were written while I was kind of in that state of in between, not even knowing when our album was going to come out, what was going to happen. So yeah, that's how I process it was writing music. It really made me realize, I went through these kind of negative thoughts where I thought like, what is the point of doing music when the world is kind of going down the tubes? And, I had to remind myself that those little moments of inspiration and joy that you find when you listen to a band where you feel like you relate to a song, those are the things that help you get through those moments. And I never really realized sometimes when you write a song, you just like put it out into the world, where it's going to end up or who's going to listen to it or when they're going to listen to it or what impact it'll have on their lives. You don't really know. It's kind of like it becomes everyone else's song. And that's what I think is kind of magical about it. You never know if a song will inspire an artist to make a painting that'll eventually inspire prolific thinker to come up with a new theory of this, and then that inspires something else. You just never know the chain of events that'll unfold. So you always just got to put it out there and just see what happens.
What's the strongest message that you have received from a fan?
Oh man, so many crazy fan interactions. I mean, there's definitely been moments where fans have told us how much our songs have changed their life. I mean, one person comes to mind is Bliss, who woke up from a coma, and the first thing she heard was our song called Fighter. And it kind of pushed her to keep fighting through the tragedy that had happened to her. And so much so, she even got a tattoo that said Fighter on her forehead after the song. So I mean, I can't imagine what type of inspiration I would need to be like, this is the exact thing I'm going to tattoo on my forehead. But if you do that, usually there's something that happens in your life that is pretty important to make you do that. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy to me that people have those profound experiences with our music. And it's crazy. I mean, so many cool things have happened because of music for us. We've met so many cool people. There's a school teacher in Germany that teaches his class English through our music. And he's done more than one English lesson where they have to dissect our lyrics. And we even visited the high school and played a show for them, and they performed for us. And it was just an amazing, beautiful experience of seeing, high school students singing my lyrics back to me in a beautiful choir. And I just realized, you never know what will happen. When I wrote that song, I had no idea that was going to happen. I'd be in a high school in Germany with the kids singing the song back to me. I had no idea. So you never know what's going to happen.
Great. We need that. We need emotions. We need good vibes.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, that's the one thing we do. I do is I always sneak in, even in the darkest songs, I sneak in a little bit of hope in there somewhere, because to me, one of our threads that kind of thread all of our music together is the feeling of overcoming. And that's what everyone's had to do throughout their whole lives. There's no one that'll go through life and tell you they haven't been through some type of struggle. And I think that music helps us through those times where we're uncertain. And I always want to kind of make people at the end of the song in some way feel like no matter how frustrating life is, that there's always some hope. There's always some little light at the end of the tunnel somewhere to follow. And so I find that almost in hindsight, when I kind of look back at my music, it's almost like I should have taken my own advice, because the songs I write in the past almost kind of like make more sense in the future to me, as if I'm kind of writing a message to myself to tell myself to keep going, keep pursuing, keep overcoming all the obstacles.
To finish, where will you tour next? And I hope very soon. Maybe first in America and then maybe Europe.
Well, right now, unfortunately, we're in Canada, at least in our province. We're in a lockdown situation still, pretty strict lockdown. They've even made it illegal for bands to do live stream concerts right now. So it's pretty crazy. We're having a really high surge of cases, unfortunately, right now, which kind of sucks. But we're still hopefully looking towards the end of the year for touring again. And there's something in the works for going overseas to UK and Europe, but we'll see how it all works out. I can't announce anything yet. But I think that with the way that hopefully the vaccines are rolling out, that everything will be okay by the end of the year.